Bruno Courrèges, chief of police for the Vézère Valley in the Périgord region of France, was deeply fond of the medieval square of Salat, but he had never seen it from this angle before. He was seated among his friends on one of the top rows of benches, and it felt uncomfortably high. Erected each year for the town's theatre festival, the benches were being used for a new venture, the reenactment of the Battle of Salat in 1370, when the town had been liberated from English rule. As a former soldier, Bruno was interested to see how this mock battle would unfold. Salat was the traditional capital of the Périgord Noir dating back to Gallo-Roman times, and Charlemagne himself donated holy relics to the abbey here, said Pamela. She sat on Bruno's left and was reading aloud from a guidebook as Bruno gazed fondly at this former lover who had since become the closest female friend he'd ever known. That's how it became rich, attracting pilgrims who ensured its growing prosperity. Over time, the monks established 85 daughter churches whose parishes by the year 1200 stretched nearly 200 kilometres to Toulouse. All while preaching the virtues of poverty, grumbled Gérard Mongeon, sitting on Bruno's right. As the mayor of Saint-Denis, Mongeon had hired Bruno to be the town policeman more than 10 years earlier, and Bruno, an orphan, sometimes thought of him as the father he'd never known. The mayor was a staunch Republican who only went to church when baptisms, funerals, or his civic duties required. Weddings, he believed, were civic events for him to officiate rather than any priest. A dozen of Bruno's friends from Saint-Denis were clustered around them. The Baron, one of Bruno's hunting partners, sat on the far side of Pamela. Fabiola, a local doctor, and her partner Gilles, a journalist, were on the bench below. Beside Bruno's cousin, Alain and Rosalie, the woman Alain would marry later that year once their 20 years' service in the Armée de l'Air was complete. On the row below them were Miranda, Pamela's partner in the riding school, and Miranda's father, Jack Crimson, a retired British diplomat. The only one missing was Florence, a local science teacher, who'd lost the toss of a coin with Miranda to see which of the two mothers would babysit their young children, all of them exhausted after a long day around Pamela's pool. It had been for Bruno a perfect day, undisturbed by any of these sudden crises that had ruined his previous Fridays and Sundays, nominally his days off. 3 traffic accidents, 2 lost children, and a drunken duel between 2 Dutch tourists in kayaks had consumed his supposed free time. But today had been spent in and around Pamela's swimming pool with his friends, and while preparing lunch for them all, he'd enjoyed showing the children how to make devilled eggs.